What's up, guys? This is your host, Vashti Irvin, for the Humming Pod podcast, coming directly to you guys. Thank you so much for listening, giving me your ear, your time, your sweet presence. And I do uplift all of you guys and say thank you. You are very intelligent. You are smart. You are sweet. You are awesome. You are strong. You are blessed. You are loved. And because of your time spent with me, I get to see the fruit of the work that I bring to the table in my book club, my YouTube, my Twitter account, my Instagram, all of these platforms. As I continue to find ways to grow these platforms, as I continue to find ways to use these platforms, I just thank you along the way. You know, we've been talking about Bass Reeves for quite a while, and it's to the point where I figured out a few ways that I want to kind of introduce Bass Reeves as our tower. Towers and little hours. So who is Bass Reeves? Bass Reeves was the first black U.S. Marshal that they say. So he was the first, born enslaved in Arkansas. And he was very impactful at a time where the wild, wild west was a real thing. So I got many stories that I could can talk about, but here I'll just start out with okay. Bass was a great shot. Like he knew how to use a gun well, and so in his ability to use a gun well, it carried him and it guided him in a space of time and space, right, where he was very useful in what he did, very useful to his time period. You know, in the wild wild west, to be a very good shot, to be very critical of yourself when you made just a little inch off of a shot, or to be very decisive and controlled in your lifestyle and the things that you bring to the plate or table, to be very decisive in all these factors, and to make a big decision in a little amount of time. These things played a big role, and so that was who Bass Reeves was. And once he adjusted his life and lifestyle into a to be this way, it really took him pretty far. Born in 1838, and today is 2024. This is nearly 200 years ago, in that when he was born. So it's not 200, about 150 minimum, to the point where he was actively and actually in process, like actually doing the powerful work that we are reading about. So it's been about 150 years since then, and that stuff has been being implicated and applied to life and law and justice and criminology and the forms of way we go about catching robbers and thieves and wrongdoers, and discovering injustice and kind of calling out people for their injustice. The way that we go about this stuff, this Bass Reeves played a big part in it. And one story that I want to kind of walk you all through, it comes out of this book. So give me one moment while I go grab these books. Okay, one moment. That's all it took. So this book here is by James Otis Smith, and it's called Black Heroes of the Wild West. The book we are actually studying right now is called Little Legends, Exceptional Men in Black History by Vashti Harrison. This is a restudy that we're doing. But the book that I'm actually pulling from to get more, to go deeper into the literature, deeper into the history, is called Black Heroes of the Wild West. The other book we got is by Gary Paulson, and it's called The Legend of Bass Reeves. And then it says, being the true and fictional account of the most valiant marshal in the West. Okay, so Gary Paulson and his son worked together to create many artifacts in this book, of course, and to kind of create this story to give a real image, and to give some backing to tales that people tell about Bass Reeves. I told my mom the other day about a story from this first book that I told you about, James Otis Smith, in which this one is unique because they created it into almost a comic. They give a tale about three people in history, three heroes, and then they create them into kind of a comic form. And I mean, that's also like what Vashti did. I mean, she did a comic image of it. Look, this is something that was said. So as I'm gonna tell you what happened, and then I'll let you know what I thought were the highlights. So they're walking through the city in the wild wild west. Men looking at this wanted poster. Wanted, dead or alive. John Clancy, Robert Clancy. The reward, $5,000. You got people walking through. You got men over there talking to this lady. Wow, you beautiful, baby. I want to get to know you. I want to know your name, and I want to take you out for dinner. I'm gonna go ahead and bring you back to my place, and we're gonna have a nice cup of tea, and we're gonna just enjoy each other's presence. Blah 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 blah. We got men doing that. Got other men hanging out. Man, we sure been working hard in the mud. My back about broken. If I keep working like this, I ain't never gonna get no house or no 2 acres. I ain't never gonna get my family off our feet. I ain't never gonna do this. I sure hear what you got to say there, John. If we don't get right with the Lord, we gonna be dead and thrown off in the side of the ditch somewhere trying to make a couple bucks. And our family gonna starve to death. Yeah, I believe you on that. Blah 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 blah. Oh, you seen that old wanted wanted poster? Well, somebody oughta take an interest in that. That's $5,000. Well, Bill, I don't think I can mess with those boys. They be done killed me. As men having those types of conversations, you see what I'm saying? Here come Bass Reeves, old country boy, old carpetbagger, old man on the moon. He just walking, doing his thing. He ain't talking to nobody. You see what I'm saying? Now, with that being said, as they all having this living life, Bass has a strategy, and he see it. He said he see it. He want to make a difference in his life as well. He say listen to this. They say, you heard about the marshal? They say turned coward and let him go free. Can't say I blame them. Those Clancy boys, they're terrible men. So whatever that is, I mean, those guys were scared. They said they thinking about all this stuff, and then you got Bass, blah blah blah. He done made up a plan. Look, this is what. So we go through the story. It say, got enough children of my own already. Speaking of blah blah, her kids is on the way home, as in those two Clancy boys. They say, don't look now, ma, but there's a giant Negro in the house with my stew on his whiskers. You boys know you was raised to keep a silver tongue. He's done much work in a day as y'all done all year. You trying to show us up in front of our mama? Just look to prove my worth is all. Didn't see no horse or mule or any other sign of conveyance out there. That'll be my first purchase soon as I can raise the money. So with that being said, Bass he just cleaned up for the lady and blah blah and just handled the business. And here come the boys. They looking at Bass trying to figure out, is this man got some issue, or we gonna have to make a problem with this man? Like, what's the deal with him? And then after a while, they get comfortable. They start drinking with him. They start having a good time. They look playing cards. They say, it's your play, boy. Drinking up, drinking up. They playing such and such. She cooking. Okay. They drank up real good. The whole night gone by. They drank up real good. Whole night. Night, mama. Blah, blah, blah. Night, Bass. Night, we love you. Can't wait to talk to you in the morning, Bass. Night go by. Dawn done rose again, huh? Bass done loaded up. Got him some coffee. got it all ready to go. The boys laying down. He put on this show. He done dressed up now. He put on his badge. It's United States of America, Marshal, U.S. And he done got his coffee ready. As soon as they wake up, they in chains. That's how Bass done them. As soon as they wake up, in chains, handcuffs. They say morning. He say morning, gentlemen. My name is Deputy U.S. Marshal Bass Reeves. What sort of luck you think rubbing my head might bring this fine day? He said, "You no account liar." That's what the woman said to him. Who gonna take care of me without my boys? And I imagine the mothers of the men they killed are asking the same thing. I'm leaving your guns up the road a piece, ma'am. Take your time retrieving them. Then they tell Bass he a terrible man. You remember them other guys told them boys, they said, man, these guys, the Clancy boys are some terrible men. And so now the Clancy boys telling Bass he a terrible man because he done flipped the script on him. You see what I'm saying? In Vashti Harrison's book, she says he he liked to use disguises and tricks to outsmart the criminals to make an arrest. It wasn't just about bad guys for Bass. He loved animals and went out of his way to stand up against animal cruelty too. So she highlighted that he loved animals in her book. I think that's pretty cool. Bass liked animals. So in this small tomb graphic book by James Otis Smith, he gives us one story about a scenario so you can see how he really wit uses his wit. Now, I guess we'll move on over to Gary Paulson's book. Right now, my puppy, she's over there scratching her head, and I'm just on sending some messages back and forth with some peoples and trying to see what's going on in the long run, because you got to do that stuff these days. You got to talk to people. Let me handle this business real quick. And haven't found me something to watch on on Netflix here lately, but I'm not trying to get us too distracted on other stuff. We're gonna jump into the little legend of Bass Reeves, or the legend of Bass Reeves by Gary Paulson, in just a moment. Okay, where I was at in the book was I started in the kind of in the meat of the book. Let me tell you this. So this book it's got, I think it has about 11 chapters. Let me see. I think it may have 12. Maybe 11. I'm on the 11th chapter and I don't see the 12th yet. I'm all the way in the back of the book. Yeah, 11 chapters. Okay. So, chapter 1 of this book. This is an actual, book. He was in Muskogee, Oklahoma, and that was Indian territory from 1817 to 1860. Okay? The boy. That's what it starts out and says, the boy. Okay. The first chapter is called The Witch Dog, Spring of 1834. Okay? So about, like I told y'all, about 150 years. So it's 2024. 200 years ago would have been 1824. Add 50 years to 1824. That's 1874. And so by 1874, Bass was 30 something. Well, he was like 30. Yeah, 34 ish, apparently. You know what I mean? Based on what we got to read on. Chapter 2 So chapter 2, The Witch Dog, Spring 1834. Let me see. Chapter 2 is called Spring 1836, Eagle Flying Free. Chapter 3 is called Spring 1836, Blood Moon. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. Chapter 4 is called 1836, Paris, Texas. Chapter 5, 1840, Running. Bass was 16 now. Huh. That don't make sense. Because if he was 16, that means he was born in 1824. 1824. 24 plus 16 is going to be 1840. That's crazy. In Vashti's book, it says 1838 to 1910. Hey, Google, when was Bass Reeves born?
Bass Reeves was born in July 1838.
Who? They got a white man and called him Bass Reeves. This ain't right. Something ain't right. All right, thank you, Google. Hey, Google. All right. What is going on? This must be some, I don't know what kind of mess going on right now. Because in Gary Paulson's book, it says Bass was 16 now, pushing 17. And this says fall of 1840. If he was born in 1838, that means he would only be 2 years old. Okay. The mister had battled the jug for 3 years. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. So that's chapter 5. Chapter 6 is called The Land. 1840 to 1863. So that's a 23-year span. The place that Bass ran to was known as the Indian Territory. It's called Oklahoma now. Back then, it included parts of Kansas and Arkansas and an edge of northern Texas. Okay, let's see what else. That's chapter 6. Chapter 7. It says, and into this territory rode 17-year-old Bass Reeves. Chapter 7, Spring of 1831, Killing Men. Chapter 8, Fall of 1841, Wolves. Chapter 9, 1841 to 1863, A Family. Okay, chapter 10, The Man. The Boy, the Land, the Man. Chapter 10, Summer of 1875, The Measure of a Man. They say Bass lived with the Creeks in the Indian Territory for 22 years until 1863. He became fluent in their language. He probably took a common law wife, although because of the lack of record keeping in the territory, there was no way to know for certain. He wandered now and again, always studying, always learning, always staying well within the territory, because he was still a fugitive. There was no statute of limitations for an escaped slave. Because the territory was wild and lawless, nobody would dare to come looking for him. Okay. Nobody would dare. Now, chapter 11 is 1875 to 1909. And Bass, apparently, he died in 1910. Okay. Now, I want to know, you all can send in y'all's favorite. Out of those 11 chapters, which one sound like the most interesting to you? And based on the math that we did, what do y'all think? Because the math wasn't always mathing. It wasn't just mathing. It was like something was off, So I didn't know what to really believe throughout the mess. But I didn't really know what to believe. So I'm still on the fence because I really don't know. But you know, I like the part where it starts to talk about the Indian Territory, so chapter 6, because I feel like that's a big part of who Bass was. I don't know. Maybe I need to keep going the next podcast and we'll study more about it. But I definitely want this to be one of the longer podcasts that I've done because we've been waiting on this study for Bass for quite a while. Chapter 5 though does seem interesting, even though it says Bass was 16 now, pushing 17. He could lift more than his weight and throw it in the wagon. And once, when a mule had acted up, Bass had grabbed it by the halter, twisted his head, and thrown it to the ground. Huh. And if he wasn't quite a man yet in body and mind and knowledge, he had a man's duties. So this is when he was 17. Bass had only been in the mister's house 4 times to help Mammy move furniture. Going inside to play cards was strange, almost spooky. Had the mister gone crazy? Huh. It says on the Saturday near his 17th birthday, the mister came to the door of the house and motioned for Bass to come inside. So, because they was going to play poker. Okay. Now, in chapter 10, I guess this is really where we got a situation. Well, no. Chapter 11. We're going to really start getting into the mess. That's where it's going to start to happen in chapter 11, I guess. You see chapter 10 talking about him being escaped and stuff. But in 1875, the lawlessness of the Indian Territory finally came to the attention of the government in Washington. Congress appointed a federal judge who was as tough as the territory he was sent to tame. Isaac Parker. Parker was given the nickname the Hanging Judge because he once hanged 6 men at once to save time. He had sweeping powers over the law in the Indian Territory, and his first job was to appoint 200 deputy federal marshals to clean up the region. So he had to clean up the region. Well, I mean, that's a big deal, but in order to clean up, you gotta make decisions. The decisions you didn't know you was gonna have to make. So that seemed like, I don't know. I'm continue to study, or should we stop here? Well, should we stop here, or it says by modern standards, it's difficult to imagine how immense this problem would prove to be. Parker had to impose order on an area between 15 and 20,000 square miles, with hundreds of thousands of near perfect hideouts, where the only form of transportation was the horse. And there was no telephone, no mail service, not even carrier pigeons. Parker was supposed to bring peace and harmony to this wild place with only a small army of deputy marshals. Okay, now, how does Bass fit into that story? Well, Bass is Bass caught him off guard. He went after the worst of the worst because there's no middle ground. Either you bad or you ain't. Bass went after the bad, and so by going after the bad, calling them in, he put fear into the hearts of the ones who was on the fence, and so they had to either say, "Oh, we're gonna go badder," or we're gonna be better. That's what the results you get when you go after when you do stuff like that. You get those types of, you got to do stuff. You got to. You got no choice. And I mean, Bass, he was willing to make the big decisions, willing to handle this the kind of the what needed to be handled, and in doing so, he accomplished daily the tasks that the judges needed him to do, and so he continued to rank up. He didn't stay in one place, and yeah, he was good. He was living on the Indian territory and all those things, and his life was super unique. But he escaped. He was an escaped slave, so that was a big thing for him. It played a big role. So I'm just so fascinated with Bass. I'm so fascinated with Vashti. So fascinated with all of it. Now, thank you so much for listening. I'm just always so happy. We I'm sitting there eating, so you gotta excuse me. I'm eating a little bit. I gotta do that, but I want to get this work. Okay, my little puppy, she's sitting there wondering why I'm not showing her love. Says nobody could doubt Bass's courage or tenacity, and it's not as if the law had been a particular friend to Bass, who for nearly a quarter of a century had lived in fear of being captured and sent back into slavery. You see, you see what I'm saying? His life, he didn't have justice, and he brought justice. They tried to make him a slave. They tried to make him a slave, man. They try to enslave my man. If I'm also drinking me a little cup of coffee, and this is only a part of what I'm doing for the growth. This is only a piece of it, like a part of it. The book club is going, but it's many factors here, and I want you guys to get more engaged with me. Send me messages, respond to this stuff, so that whenever we have big things happening, I mean we can work them together. I need you guys to respond and send stuff because you guys, I mean your responses warrant the direction. Uh, it fixes the direction. And what do I mean by that? Well, okay, so right now I'm gonna go on the Instagram and make a video for the IG. It's been a while since I did something for the IG. Let me go ahead and get something for the IG for the fam. For the IG fam. All right. As a matter of fact, give me a second. I'm gonna go ahead and set up some. Look at that, bro. That ain't no good right there, dog. It's good, but it just ain't the best. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about something y'all can't see, and I ain't gonna mention. Okay. New podcast coming. That's good. That's a good one. I guess that's good. That looked good too, for real. All right. Now, I'm trying to record the video. It's kind of tough because they want you to hold it down. I'm not trying to be doing that. Oh, there it is, hands free. Okay. Yeah. All right. And I'm gonna throw a filter on there for us. Ooh, that's the one. That's the one. Maybe yeah, that's the one. Look at the skin, the glow. It's a blessing just to be here. Okay. All right. This is the Humming Pod Podcast. We're doing our study on the Bass Reeves towers in little hours, highlighting Bass Reeves as our tower. How has Bass Reeves exemplified himself as a tower? Well, he came from slavery, and he continued throughout the Wild Wild West back in 1840s through the 60s to capture men, to achieve bounties, to go around making disguises and pulling tricks and pulling men in alive, many times alive. Not always having to kill guys, but he did it with bringing them in alive. His tricks were successful, is what I'm saying. And so that's who we're studying right now, Bass Reeves, how he came from a position of, you see what we see him now as this big old thing, like Bass Reeves, the lawman and on the TV show, and that's somebody who did this. But he actually started with nothing and proved himself possible. Now, I got that video posted for the IG. Towers in little hours. I'm gonna go ahead and also tag that one too. So the IG really don't know what it means to what towers are, but we're gonna get them. We're gonna get them hip. Everybody on the podcast probably knows. I hope y'all know. I mean, I'm trying to get y'all hip too. I don't want y'all to be late to the show. I'm trying to see also how to get these. Yeah, we'll just keep it like this. Towers. Now, let's jump a little bit deeper into what I mean by what Bass is doing. Okay, the wonder is that Bass or any of the deputies accepted the job. Certainly, Bass didn't need to prove anything to himself or to any other man. Nobody could doubt his courage or tenacity. We talked about that, and he did live in fear of being captured and sent back into slavery. He certainly didn't do it for the money. You see, as with everything else, he did a good job of it. In the end, he collected some fairly large wages, but he could easily have made money working at his ranch and been a lot safer. Um, the good people of El Paso sent to the Rangers for help, and the Rangers sent one man. The saying was one riot, one Ranger, because they were so tough. Now, if this legendary incident happened at all, it's not documented, is what it says. It only happened once. But Bass Reeves was forced to show up alone all the time. Parker or one of his assistants would give Bass a stack of warrants or subpoenas for half a dozen or more killers, rapists, molesters, thieves, man burners, the worst kind of outlaws, and not just one or two, but whole gangs of them. And Bass was supposed to saddle his horse and collect his weapons. He carried as many as 4 revolvers, 2 rifles, and a shotgun at times. He'd ride alone into what many men called the center of hell and bring the men out alive, if possible, or if necessary, draped dead over a horse. He did this 3,000 times. And it says, Bass had no such cap, and he must have known that the odds against him were absolutely staggering. Nobody ever sat down and interviewed Bass as they did with Hitchcock, Earp, or Cody. Racial prejudice, another enormous obstacle for Bass, may have been at its worst during the years when he was a marshal. Right after the Civil War, when millions of African Americans were attempting to live free in a racist, bigoted nation. So there is no documented explanation on for why Bass Reeves would accept the offer from Parker. And then we'll skip this. He said, well, Bass had lived in the territory with the Creeks for just under a quarter of a century and was accepted by the families. He was sheltered and hidden by them, loved and was loved by the very people who were now being victimized by these criminals. Perhaps he thought he owed them some kind of help. Whatever the reason, in the summer of 1875, Bass Reeves put on the badge. This is leading into chapter 11. Bass lay beneath some brush and watched the cabin a half a mile away. In the approaching twilight, it was back in a cut in the Cherokee Hills. Skip on forward. Like pulling a lion's beard, Bass scratched his cheek. Bass now smiled, remembering the look on Judge Parker's face when he had come riding into Fort Smith with 10 live prisoners tied together in tow and 2 dead draped over their horse. When the wounded men had complained about being tied together, he just said, "It's easy to carry you dead." When they looked at the bodies of their companions, they quieted down. Uh-huh. Now Bass narrowed his eyes. Narrowed his eyes. The door of the cabin opened up. The man came out and relieved himself off to the side. It looked like Dozier, but at this distance, he couldn't be sure. He had been hunting Bob Dozier, who was wanted for horse thievery and for killing the drovers who had the horses. For almost 3 years now, Bass had come close to catching him, but the man was slippery. But Bass knew for certain this time that there was only 3 men in the cabin. Okay. He had. I'm gonna read this part. He felt the night chill coming in. It was summer, but the rain had soaked him in, and a faint breeze blew. He stood slowly and went back to the mule. He had an old saddle on it, all part of his disguise, which he used fairly often. He also posed as a drover, a cowboy, a dirt farmer, and an outlaw. Anything to get close enough. You had to get so close you could smell their breath. Okay, Bass rode up to the cabin without being discovered. He sat for a moment preparing. When there was time, there wasn't always. He would compose himself and try to anticipate how things would go. He stood down from the mule, just his revolver under his coat so he could get it in a hurry. Then he knocked at the door. Talk inside stopped instantly, and he heard stools and chairs scraping across. "Sorry, boss. Don't mean no trouble." This is what Bass saying. "Sorry, boss. Don't mean no trouble. Just looking for some work to make some food." Bass moved back to appear less threatening. "Mighty hungry, boss. Eat just about anything." Then somebody said, "Hell, Bob, he is just some old nigger begging for food. He could." This is in the book now. We could let him peel the potato. As soon as he said potato, the other guy yelled, "Oh, nigga, hell, that's Reeves." You see, Bass kicked the gun away from the man on the floor. Blah, blah, blah. They in the scuffle now. "Your gun." After that, well, he kicked the gun away from the man on the floor. A second man stood by a stove holding a frying pan with his mouth open. "Your gun," Bass said, pointing at the man's belt and holster. "Out now, 2 fingers. Throw it over here. Do it wrong and I'll kill you. I ain't got papers on either one of you, so don't push me. Oh, don't push the hand. Both of you leave your weapons and run outside and just keep running north, and I'll let you go this time. Don't come back or I'll kill you. Do you believe me? Are you Bass Reeves? The man by the stove had thrown his gun away onto the floor. Yes. Then I believe you. Get horses? No, on foot. So Bass is having a talk and he's having a scuffle all at the same time. Okay. And this is on page 114 that we're starting up. He said, so Bass is chasing this guy, and it says, Bass cocked his own Colt, aimed carefully at the center of Dozier's body, and when the barrel of Dozier's Colt started to come up to point at him, Bass squeezed the trigger. So he shot him, killed him, did this. And then he said, Dozier laying face up in the mud, rain pouring into his unblinking eyes. Some mother must have loved him, must have suckled him, must have fed him and changed his diapers. Just a waste of everybody. This page 115. We lead into the end of the book here. I'm not gonna read all of this now. Bass had his weapon up by this time. Okay, y'all get the point. I did post on the Instagram Duhoceanscience, so y'all can go see that. Basically, like y'all can see the post. Y'all can see that I made. Today is June 17th. It's Monday, so I got work a little bit late. I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to do that. But this has been fun. This has been fun. In Vashti Harrison's book, it says it's speculated that Bass was the inspiration for the Lone Ranger, the fictional masked hero of the Old West. There's no way of knowing for sure, but we do know that Bass was a real life good guy who fought for justice. That's on page 8 of Vashti Harrison's book. Little Legends, Exceptional Men in Black History. That's what it says at the end of the description for over that. So there's so much history here. If y'all want to do more on Bass, we can definitely do it. Y'all just let me know. I love talking about Bass Reeves. This is one of my favorite. I'm gonna take these books back to the library because I'm done with them now. I mean, I don't need them, but if we want to talk more about Bass, we definitely will do so. But right now, I think we talked about Bass as a tower. I think everyone sees that the things that I'm saying match up with the things that we read. So I say things, and then when I go back and read, the things are justified because Bass definitely was an outlaw, but he was also kind-hearted, and he took into consideration justice. Justice is not about you, not about me. It's about what's right, what's wrong. If it's wrong, you need to be guilty. If it's right and you was in the right, you innocent or you just. So it's not a okay, you was almost right, so we're gonna give you a little bit of innocence, but then you did this wrong, so we're gonna give you a little bit just or guiltiness. So based on whichever one we feel is the worst, we're gonna let you lean there. No, we're gonna give you one or the other. You're gonna be innocent or you're gonna be guilty. You're gonna be just or you're gonna be unjust. We're gonna keep it fair for the sake of human life, for the sake of truth. And that's who Bass Reeves was. He was a man of truth, and he was a man of the law because hey, they was after him. He was in slavery. He was enslaved, and he broke free, and he had a lot riding on what he was doing. He was a just man. He was a faithful man to be just in what he did, and so that's our legend. That's our little legend for today. Studying on Bass Reeves, we finally discovered him as a tower. Starting when you're standing away from a tower, all you see it is the tower all the way up to the top. But when you come close, you realize it starts at the bottom, and it gets big and it looks big because of the distance. But when you get close, you see that this is a huge tower, and it starts small. But when you, just like as a human being, you might try to make a person to a tower, but you got to see that they might have started from nothing, and then you can actually appreciate them when you realize they started really small, and look what they accomplished, and look what they did to get where they're going. Now you see them as a tower. That's what we're highlighting: towers and little hours. And the Humming Pod podcast. Thank you so much for listening. You guys are fantastic. I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye.